all these things that really stress you out on a daily basis actually don't really mean much when you're lying fighting for your life in a hospital bed. So it gives you a lot of perspective, and it's a very humbling thing to go through, and really it's the death of the ego ultimately in that bed. When you face your own mortality, it really makes you slow down. So rather than riding a bike thinking about power or whatever, you're actually very much in the moment and living where your feet are and present, and you feel the wind on your face, you notice the trees, you notice little birds.
You know, we both love wild places and exploring them and things like that, and you know, we've always enjoyed adventurous stuff. You know, Dave's from the middle of Scotland in Aviemore, and like always loved the mountains, always been passionate about that, so I think that's probably part of the connection.
The instant we met, it was you could see right away that our values were aligned, and we also have both gone through, you know, real difficult times in life, and we had to wrestle with some real hard questions about things that are greater than sport.
I have a degenerative eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which, to put very simply, is it's tunnel vision. So I've got a very limited field of vision, so it's like I'm looking down straws, and everything else is just oblivious. It's not like, it's just not there. So anything I look at I can still see pretty well, but anything outside of my peripheral vision, like I can't see anything. I'm going to go blind at some point, and I've been super fortunate that it's, you know, I was kind of like 10 years ago I was diagnosed, and they said worst case scenario, be 4 years you'll be blind. So man, I'm living on borrowed time with my eyes, so I'm pretty stoked about that. There's no cure for what I've got, so you know, it's just rolling with it and seeing how it's going to play out.
I have a rare tumour that's inside my spinal cord. It's C4 to C6. So for those that don't know that, that's basically in your neck. So it doesn't really get much higher. Any higher than, for sure, I wouldn't be alive. So I'm really living a life in millimetres. The tumour presses onto the nerve root that supplies the nerves to the lungs for my breathing. And ultimately, the race I have is the tumour growing, crushing all of my nerves, which will ultimately paralyse my whole body and stop me breathing, and I would die.
We're right on the Great British Cycling team, on the para squad. Don't have the eyesight to race solo, so my racing is done on the back of a tandem. I guess my biggest achievement is Paralympic gold medal, which I've been fortunate enough to win 2 of, and a silver and a bronze as well, so I've got a complete set of them, and a Commonwealth bronze medal, 3 world titles across the track and the road, and a handful of national titles. After my diagnosis, I had, I think, probably about 6 months, which were pretty dark. I don't know whether you could class that as depression or not, I don't really know, but certainly the way the path I was taking in life was to go down the alpine guide route, and that was, you know, just wasn't going to be apparent. Like, climbing was everything to me, it was my whole life, and to find myself again, I had to go back climbing and prove to myself that I could still be who I wanted to be. So I soloed El Capitan as my, is probably still probably the greatest achievement in my life to date, I think. When I got over the top of that, it amazed me what I was capable of. I just thought, well, if I can do this, you know, kind of what else can I do? And I think at that point, I probably put it to bed once and for all.
Every morning I wake up, it's a blessed day, and if I can put both feet on the floor and get out of my house and get on my bike, then really nothing else matters. I was first diagnosed in 2010 as I was training with the British rowing team, preparing for London. And I guess no one ever trains you for that moment. You know, you hear of cancer and these things, but you never really think, especially when you're an extremely fit athlete and you're focusing on reaching targets and stuff, it never really occurs to you that it's going to happen to you. From the first surgery in May 2010, they cut open the front of my neck, they went in, had to take vertebrae out, cut in to remove the tumour. I woke up from that surgery, About 6 days later, suffered a spinal stroke, found myself back in hospital fighting for my life. I'd gone into hospital as a 100-kilo rower and woke up a few weeks later at 65 kilos, unable to move my legs, unable to stand. Fast forward 2 years from waking up paralysed, I crossed the line in London with first with a gold medal at the Games. That was the start. From there on, I've been diagnosed 4 times with the recurrent tumour. I've had 6 spinal surgeries, and in 2016 I had a 10.5-hour surgery and never walked again. The one thing that's been a huge saviour for me is my bike and my friends.
I've always got on with Dave, and it's great to be there and kind of be at the end of a phone when he needs it, and supporting and stuff like that. But it's just what mates do. But yeah, I guess it's not easy, is it? It's pretty brutal watching your. I mean, the thing about Dave is, like, when I met him, if you could think of this perfect, Dave was a rower, so he's 6'7" or something, and he was like chiseled out of marble. He was like the ultimate athlete. And a few months back he came and stayed at my house, and I literally kind of had to watch him kind of crawl up the stairs to get up the stairs, and it's just like that kind of hits you pretty hard.
I can't really walk very far, but I can go and cycle 100 kilometers. So the only time I can escape hospitals, death, all of this stuff, is the minute I feel that cleat click in. When I clip into the bike, I'm cancer free and I'm no longer paralysed. Since paralysis, I've not really been able to ride with my mates, which is tough, because it's like you feel isolated. When you're paralysed or you're dealing with cancers or whatever, you kind of it's so hard to do things with your mates. So your phone stops ringing. So in 2015 in Mallorca, I could still go and ride with Steve, and we could go out and blast 160 miles on the bikes together, and we were both like pushing each other up hills and stuff. But I remember just as I was coming to meet him, I lost control of my bowels because I'd lost them after the first surgery, really. So I pooed myself coming over a call, and I arrived down the other side of the call, and Steve was sat at a little cafe, and I couldn't even stop. I just basically seen him, I waved, and went straight into the petrol station, had to strip off, and I'm standing in this Spanish Mallorcan petrol station bathroom with my cycling shoes and my helmet on, completely naked, washing my shorts under a sink, praying that nobody walks in. Came out, got Steve, and we were cycling up the first climb, and he's like, "Do you smell shit?" And I was like, "No."
It makes me laugh. Whenever we catch up now, we never talk about racing or results or past glories or anything like that. It's always about what have you been riding and where have you been.
Humour is really important when you're dealing with medical stuff that can be pretty heavy, and it can be quite a dark thing to talk about. I think when we kind of keep it light. Because every time you go into surgery, there's a risk that you might die, or there's a risk that you'll be paralysed from the neck down and never ride again. So I always came to Aviemore to ride and enjoy the roads and to savour these moments. And we've just had a Commonwealth Games, and I've come back to Aviemore, but I've not been diagnosed. I'm not going into surgery. I'm actually here to ride on the roads, but also to jump on some of the gravel tracks with Steve, do some riding. It feels like an outer body experience, to be honest. I kind of feel that I'm sort of looking down from somewhere else and seeing that, because I've not gone so long without these diagnoses. So I'm in this sort of uncharted territory where I'm actually being given this gift of life. There's just little moments within all the darkness where you see the beauty of life.
It's kind of nice when a friendship outlasts just a time on together on a team.
I like to think that I've got a friend for life, and that's pretty special.